YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. As I've talked about over the years, the transformation is taking place. Transformation is a very common theme in the occult. And literally what we've seen going on in our society is a massive transformation. And I've been meaning to cover Ozempic and how the government is even trying to make Ozempic free for consumers out there. And the pivot, of course, from the COVID vaccine to Ozempic, because we don't hear about COVID anymore, even though they told us COVID was never going to go away. But eventually COVID did go away. And how it went away was, of course, the data showed that no one was actually going anymore to get boosted, not enough people at least, to make them try to use their propaganda machine to push the narrative that COVID was real so that people would be scared enough to go and continue to put mRNA and gene editing inside of their bodies. So the pivot, as we've all looked around and said, what's the next pandemic going to be? Is it going to be an Ebola outbreak? Is it going to be the hantavirus outbreak from the cruise ship? What is it going to be? And what we've actually seen is quietly Ozempic becoming normalized. We've seen, of course, the government do what they always do, which is use Hollywood as a vessel for social engineering. And the latest ghoul to show off its Ozempic body, which, again, people out there are going to say, these aren't the same people. These are stunt doubles. These are people in masks. That very well could be true. But the bottom line goal here is using these celebrities to influence the public to go and get these Ozempic shots. And now, like I've talked about over the years, we live in such a narcissistic society that people are so ego-driven. They are so obsessed with how they look that they actually don't even realize, some of them, that they're already skinny, but they want to be even skinnier. And that's, of course, what social media has caused, this mass narcissism that we see where people are out in public. They're not even enjoying where they are. They're going to places just so they can have photo ops to take and post on social media. This has all happened, of course, from social engineering, from the celebrities to social influencers, which has caused this mass narcissistic hysteria that we exist inside of. So the latest ghoul that, again, we don't know if these are clones. We don't know what they are. They obviously are looking more and more like their true selves, which is Nephilim, because they are so bony and demonic. I mean, they look like gray aliens, which, again, all this stuff ties back in to Aleister Crowley, as I'll get into in this video. But Charlize Theron, another one of these Hollywood celebrities who, of course, conveniently, all of these psyop Hollywood celebrities, all of them have trans kids that they push on their kids. They all were pushing what on you a couple years ago? Every one of them was showing you get those saline shots, pretending they were getting COVID shots. And now we're seeing all of these celebrities, whether they're stunt doubles or not, looking like literally Nephilim in front of you, pushing the Ozempic shot. So Charlize Theron, who I've exposed over the years, doing the all-seeing eye symbol, of course, is in the club. And remember, when I say CIA operatives, Hollywood is nothing but a CIA operation. All these movies are mind control operations. They are predictive programming, showing you what is going to happen in the future through fiction. Of course, your brain perceives it as that's never going to happen while it's actually happening right in front of you. Movies like Terminator, movies like Contagion and Outbreak, all the things that they've done, they've showed you ahead of time. Meanwhile, your mind perceives the news as reality when the news couldn't be more scripted. But these celebrities have a job. It's to influence you, to get you to do what the government wants you to do. They're the ones who are responsible for the social division. They're the ones who are pushing all the trans stuff with their children. They're the ones, again, who are posting pictures of themselves getting the COVID vaccine, which was really saline shots, trying to influence you to do the right thing and go and get the shot, knowing very well that they would never be held accountable, that the civilians, even if they realized what the government was doing with these COVID vaccines, would never rise up because of all the distractions, because of the division with the left and right paradigm, that the people would always just be content with arguing and calling these people out online instead of actually holding them accountable for mass genocide, which is what we saw during COVID, right? So even some of these celebrities who are already thin have what we call the Ozempic face and the Ozempic skeleton body now. And Ozempic, again, stepped in right after COVID. The government came and said, well, Trump, everyone else, we're going to give you free discounted Ozempic because it's going to help Americans get healthier. And like 10 years from now, you'll hear all the same commercials you hear of when you turn the TV on with lawyers talking about mass lawsuits against big pharma companies where it's really just a joke. All you do, you take these experimental pills and then the government and, these mass lawsuits occur. And then the pharma companies, not the government, wink, wink, will give you 10 cents or, a little $1.50 in your bank account because you were a victim of, taking one of these experimental pills when they were told that they weren't really experimental pills. These people are dumb enough to take these medicines because they see an FDA approval stamp, which shows you how dumb these people are who actually go and get these things done. Ozempic is an mRNA vaccine. That's what it is. It's mRNA. You shoot this into yourself, whatever method you take when you put the Ozempic in. Obviously, these people are injecting themselves with Ozempic, and it's mRNA. They tell you that it's something else, that it's not really mRNA. It's mRNA. It is gene editing, just like the COVID vaccine. And remember, a lot of people, including myself during COVID, were talking about the comparisons of COVID-19 and what people were actually getting once they got vaccinated, because, of course, we all know that the flu didn't exist during year one of COVID because the flu went away and everybody who had COVID-19 had the same exact symptoms of the flu. So really we could look at anybody who had the flu were being diagnosed with COVID. And then when we had people actually getting the vaccine, we started seeing the shedding, just like polio, and people actually were starting to get ill. And of course, we know about the 5G frequencies as well, and the radiation poisoning. All those towers went up during COVID. And many people were comparing the symptoms to HIV and AIDS. Well, if you take a look at some of these celebrities, whether it's really them or not, it looks a lot like everybody's got AIDS these days, right? Charlize Theron. We're supposed to believe that this is a better look, to be as skinny and as bony and as Nephilim looking as possible. This is Ozzy Osbourne's daughter. I mean, obviously it's showing its true gender in these images because this is just absolutely disturbing. That anybody out there would think that these images are of attractive looking people and not what they truly are, which are demons. And we've seen this over the years with normalizing Botox. We saw regular people getting Botox and not knowing that the majority of people view people with Botox as not looking normal or human, right? They look like their faces literally don't move. They're expressionless. Well, look at these celebrities, Sharon Osbourne. Right? This is known as Ozempic face. You could see even people like Katy Perry, right? People who you wouldn't look at. You might look at Katy Perry and say Katy Perry's got a schlong, but you're not going to look at Katy Perry and be like, well, Katy Perry's extremely overweight. But they're taking Ozempic for a reason, not because, oh, it's healthy for you, because they're trying to convince you to go and get it, just like they did during COVID. Jessica Simpson, look at them all. I mean, they look like complete fallen angels. Demi Moore, right, who happened to conveniently be in a movie about adrenochrome and Hollywood, right, wasn't even nominated for an Oscar, which ties into this video as well. We see Ariana Grande, who is already as thin and frightening looking, bulimic looking as possible, looking even more ghoulish. Nicole Kidman, all of them. You even see this witch, Kathy Bates, who has always been a very large woman in Hollywood. Ozempic, we've seen Oprah, we've even seen the men, Will Ferrell, who have exposed a dozen times over. Videos are available on the website. All these celebrities have been exposed individually for other things, their involvement in the occult symbolism, Illuminati, hand sign, all that type of stuff, including Will Ferrell with Pizzagate and all the creepy blood ritual type of comical scenes that he's been involved in, which aren't really comical, but they try to portray it as comedy, like in Zoolander, the thing he did on that television series where he was literally doing a blood ritual sacrifice and doing a blood baptism, which I have dozens of videos on. Over the years, this guy, and a link to the Kardashians, I mean, he couldn't look more ghoulish. These people look like they're dead, right? And that's really because what's happening here is people's souls are actually being killed. That's what's occurring here. And if you look at the Ozempic box, you know what nobody notices? They look at the box, they see it. Oh, okay, what is it? Subscriber, one see Ozempic. They see the little thing that you push into yourself. Nobody notices signs and symbols. I always talk about signs and symbols. Look at the actual symbol, the logo for Ozempic. Novo Nordisk, right? Just like you see Novo on the back of the dollar bill. Novo, Ordos Decorum, New Order of the Ages. Here's Novo Nordisk. And does that image look familiar to you? Now, we can look at that image right off the bat, and the first thing you probably think of is Baal, right? A bull with a halo over its head. But really what this logo is depicting is the Apis bull, which again is another Egyptian deity. And how convenient that, but we always see tie into Hollywood and even in the government, right? With the obelisks and the monuments that we have in America and around the earth. And we go back, obviously, to Freemasonry and their obsession with the Egyptian gods and goddesses, which are in their books and their teachings that I've exposed as well over the years, is their obsession with these Egyptian gods and goddesses, which all ties back into the occult, right? So Apis, this is what it's named after. This is the logo for Ozempic. Apis, this deity, an ancient Egyptian religion. Apis, or Hapis, alternatively spelled Hapa-Ankh, was a sacred bull or multiple sacred bulls worshipped in the Memphis region, identified as the son of Hathor, a primary deity in the pantheon of ancient Egypt. Initially, he was assigned a significant role in her worship, being sacrificed and reborn. Later, Apis also served as an intermediary between humans and other powerful deities. Originally Ptah, later Osiris. So there's a few things to take out of that, okay? For starters, the transformation. Because that's the big key term during COVID that most people were missing. The music videos, the celebrities, the movies, the theme, transgenderism. Transformation is the big theme. The transformation into oneness. That is what is actually occurring here, which is a part of this mass gene editing experiment that our society is willingly signing up and partaking in, whether it's they're afraid of the common cough and cold, so they're going and getting a COVID vaccine, or if they're looking in the mirror and they're saying, I don't look good enough for my social media accounts, that I need to look even thinner, so much so that I don't even realize that I'm starting to look like a bulimic skeleton or Skeletor itself or a fallen angel Nephilim, but I'll overlook that because I need to be thinner so that I could actually not even look like I have flesh on my bones, right? The transformation. As a bull, Apis was originally a god of fertility. During the first dynasty's popularity grew, and he became associated with Osiris and Ptah. You might remember Ptah, the Oscar, the Academy Award that everybody knows is the big award in Hollywood, is obviously, as you see the statue of Oscar, right? Look next to it, the Ptah, Osiris. I have a separate video on the Oscars and Ptah as well on the website at callforanuprising.com. And again, if you haven't signed up for the website, I have thousands of videos that you can view over there over the years. Even videos I did before COVID talking about how they were going to do an outbreak, how it was coming, how they needed to get mRNA inside of people's bodies, things with the flu shot, the data on the flu shot, how they were feeling pressure to create some type of pandemic because they wanted people to just go willingly get mRNA through the flu shot or just to get underneath your skin one way or the other. And of course, they created that mass hysteria for a reason. It wasn't just to depopulate. Most people out there say, hey, it was just to kill off people. It was to get nanotechnology inside of people's bodies. And again, I understand that they spray us with smart dust. There's other ways that they can get under your skin, the stuff that they put in the food, etc. But a direct access to your bloodline, right into your blood, into your veins via a vaccine. That was the goal. So there's a connection between Apis the bull, okay, and Osiris. And you might remember Osiris. Osiris is the god of the dead and resurrection. Osiris is very significant in the occult. Some equate, in certain occult circles, they equate Osiris as actual Satan and Lucifer. Aleister Crowley, the founder of Thelema, who I cover so many times, who openly talks about human sacrifice, in his writings and rituals, he specifically would always talk about the aeon of Osiris. There's the aeon of Isis, the aeon of Osiris, the aeon of Horus. And he specifically would talk about Osiris risen, even writing a poem and a song in his teachings about Osiris risen. He invoked Osiris in magic rituals in part of these Egyptian-style ceremonial black magic rituals that he did, which involved human sacrifice, which symbolized the initiate's journey through the underworld to a spiritual rebirth. So again, to summarize, the logo that you see on the Ozempic bottle or on the Ozempic packaging is Apis, but Apis became associated with Osiris, the coming to represent the living incarnation of Osiris. This is all done through the transformation. This is a transformation, okay? People don't seem to understand when we're talking in terms of a transformation. mRNA, they openly tell you what it is. It's gene editing, right? You see all the images where they show you, DNA strands getting edited, okay? You have to think of it in common sense terms. You have your own specific DNA. Think of all these crime shows, right? How they solve crimes and a guy ends up getting convicted of murder who isn't even a suspect on the police's radar. How? He leaves his DNA on the scene, whether it's blood or semen or some other disgusting thing inside of the victim or on the victim's body. And 20 years later, they come out with these cases. They find out the guy, they go retrace his DNA, and they go and find this guy. And it's nobody disputes it because they say, well, this person has his own specific DNA. There's one of one. Only one person has this DNA, right? You have your DNA. I have mine. Everybody out there has their own specific DNA. What they are doing is they are transforming you by editing your DNA, which is taking what God made you, which is your own individual. You are your own unique individual created by God and God's footprint that they are trying to manipulate and edit to their own footprint. And we go to Osiris. Again, remember Osiris that I just mentioned with Aleister Crowley, the Osiris risen symbolism, right? Osiris risen rituals. That is what you see, where you see these celebrities putting their arms folded in an X over their chest, whether it's Muhammad Ali. Nobody thinks about this stuff, right? We talk about the all-seeing eye all the time because it becomes more and more obvious where you see them holding a 666 over their eye. All the collages I've shown you over the years, right? This is just as important because you don't think about it when you see an image of this in a magazine or a headshot of these celebrities, right? You can see Marina Abramovich up in the top right corner. You can see the Freemasons doing it. It all goes back. Freemasonry, again, the occult, they're all connected to one another. This is in your own town. There's a Freemason lodge in every town in the world, and if you can't find one in your town, you'll find one in the next town. Okay? This is how they've networked and gotten into our schools, they're everywhere. Okay, pretending to be something that they're not. They pretend to be in the church, they pretend to be Christian, they pretend that they don't even worship God. They worship Lucifer. That's what their teachings tell you. And this is Osiris risen. All of these Masons, all these Satanists doing the X over their chest. Robin Williams, right? You say, oh, Robin Williams, but didn't they kill Robin Williams? Well, they kill one of their own. They sacrifice their own. Here's Prince doing it, right? We know Prince was sacrificed. Chris Cornell, another celebrity. These guys who were just suddenly, in a couple of years ago, however many years it's been now, maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, all these celebrities like Robin Williams, Chris Cornell were just hanging themselves randomly, right? The guy from Lincoln Park, right? All of them. And then we see it normalized with people like Elon Musk, right? Who are pretending that they're conservatives because they're starting to work the Christian conservative audience. Not just with simple things like going electric, getting onto their control grid, but getting things like the Neuralink embedded in their skulls, right? We talk about false miracles on this channel. The Bible talking about people who will try to appear as Christ, doing miracles with their counterfeit miracles, right? The Antichrist. Elon Musk fits the bill pretty well, doing the X symbolism here. What do you think X? Twitter is renamed to X, and he talks about Twitter and X being the collective consciousness. You can see the symbol, again, with Aleister Crowley. Even his mother or father, or husband, one of all the above, probably. May Musk, right? Another witch I've exposed over the years, who has talked openly about how if you're not in on the Neuralink and you don't want to be a part of it, something's wrong with you, right? All the satanic imagery that May Musk has done here, doing the X as well. In fact, one of the side effects they claim from Ozempic is that people are going blind from Ozempic. Well, how convenient that people are going blind from Ozempic, and then we have these false counterfeit Christ, these antichrists, like Elon Musk, who has his own company that's going to be called Blind Sight, which I've covered as well, which is going to be able to cure the blind, right? But nobody sees the comparisons to the warnings in the Bible about antichrists, false miracles. Again, most churches aren't teaching that. Most churches are doing what? They're talking about the positives. They're talking about the Psalms, which, again, we all need in our lives. You can't live knowing only darkness without, embracing the light of Christ. But most of these churches only talk about these types of good things going on. They don't want it. Nobody wants to hear about the negative stuff. It's like, I got enough problems in my life, right? Meanwhile, all of these characters are presenting themselves in front of us. And if you look at the Bible, there's a lot of correlations going on now that haven't happened in past periods, unless, of course, we don't know about that 200 years ago where we had people coming out with technology about curing the blind, right? Well, who's most known for curing the blind? Well, Jesus Christ is. And now we have Elon Musk comparing himself to Jesus Christ, talking about being able to cure the blind with his new company. And of course, one of the side effects of Ozempic, which is becoming one of the most popular drugs taken in America, happens to be blindness, right? And again, this is also about spiritual blindness in many ways too, because people don't see all these celebrities doing these signs and symbols like a gang in front of you. Ozzy Osbourne, the other Satanist I've exposed him in when he passed away, his ritual passing. Did a video on that as well on the website. Leonardo DiCaprio, another guy you always see doing all the same signs and symbols, but nobody wants to believe it. Guys like Matt Damon, Leonardo DiCaprio are Satanists because they come across as cookie cutter Hollywood actors and actresses, right? Anne Hathaway, Madonna. I mean, that's one you'd look at and you'd say, well, that's a witch, no doubt about it, right? I mean, if you don't believe Madonna's a witch, then you're probably never going to be convinced that these witches and Satanists actually exist. Steven Tyler, another guy I've exposed. Corey Feldman, who pretends to be exposing pedogate and all this stuff. Okay, if he was really exposing anything, he'd be dead in a blink. Any of these people who claim to be exposing the pedophilia in Hollywood, all they're doing is bringing you into their government-created psyops like the Epstein files to keep you distracted with psyops that they feed you instead of actually doing something about it and holding these people accountable for what they actually do. Feldman doing the 666 with the arms crossed couldn't be more obvious. Tim Burton, another guy you could look at without even seeing the signs and symbols, and you can immediately see it. You should be able to tell by how some of these ghouls look that what the unimaginable acts that they commit with children. I mean, Tim Burton is one of the creepiest, most deranged people. Big Mike, another one, doing the actually like how it says Big Mike in the top corner. I mean, that's great. John Bon Jovi, another guy, big not Bon Jovi, Marilyn Manson, a guy you would identify as Satanist, Stephen King. Another guy you'd identify as Satanist. Look, this is the X symbols, the Osiris risen. Again, the transformation is what this symbolizes. Osiris, the transformation. Okay, the X. And that's, again, on the Ozempic box. All these celebrities doing the X symbols. Madonna wearing the X all-seeing eye patch, right? Even Lana Del Rey, who is, I have to say, Lana Del Rey is one of the funnier witches to expose because Lana Del Rey doesn't even hide that she's a witch, but if you call her a witch, people are like, yeah, because they're musicians, so everybody just goes, oh, Stevie Nicks, Lana Del Rey, they admit to be witches, but they're not really witches. They're not performing human sacrifice. That's all conspiracy stuff. They got witches hung and executed and all this other crap. The reality of the matter is they expose exactly who they are and what they do every day in front of you, right? Lana Del Rey even called on witches to perform a mass ritual on Trump, which is part of the left-right game that we've seen over the years, pretending that, we're going after conservative Christians when Trump's not a Christian at all, as he's admitted out of his own mouth. In fact, one of my favorite things, Lana Del Rey, one of Lana Del Rey's albums or songs, Chemtrails Over the Country Club, admitting to chemtrailing, right? Another way to get society to laugh at, or at least her followers, to laugh at the notion of getting poisoned every day by your government via chemtrails, because you're told that it's just contrails, right? Because water vapor sits in the sky all day for 20 hours and forms a cloud, right? Yeah. Even an album, Season of the Witch, that Lana Del Rey has had. So back to the Osiris Risen. It represents a transformation. That's what needs to be remembered here, because this goes back to COVID. This goes back to mRNA and gene editing and even that black goo, which I'll get into in a minute. And I talked often about my first video being Anti-Diary, where Rihanna pretty much showed you everything with the revealed in this Anti-Diary video, which just so happened to be like one of the last things Rihanna did before disappearing, was the transformation, the black goo, the baptism, and the mark of the beast. But one of the clips in there, which everyone just sees this stuff and they're like, oh, that's spooky, that's weird, right? As if like they don't write this stuff themselves, obviously, right? They're told to do this and put this stuff in there, and you're supposed to look at it and say, oh, they're so artistic and creative. I love them. They're so great, these celebrities who are making me worship the devil without realizing it, who are poisoning us every single day, right? This was a clip talking about the coming transformation.
The transformation is coming.
The world will see who I am.
I follow you into the darkness.
Numbers are growing.
We await the greatness that beckons.
There is gold at the end of this journey.
How do you drown out the noise?
There is no end.
Only new beginnings.
The transformation is coming.
And the coming transformation is what? The coming transformation is transforming human beings. And this is about the internet of bodies through gene editing. I've talked about the black goo. Lady Gaga's video, Disease, which I did a really long breakdown on, that's available on the website, right? Lady Gaga's one of these celebrities always posing in the black goo. All these celebrities, you'll find photos of them. Kim Kardashian recently did it, of them laying in a black goo, and nobody thinks twice about it. Are we supposed to believe it's sexy? Is it some type of campaign against oil companies? I mean, what are we supposed to believe when they're nude, lying in black goo? Well, if you're awake, you realize they're talking about the transformation. The black goo is representative of the nanotechnology that is going inside of people's bodies via these shots. Whether it's the COVID shot, whether it's the Ozempic, whatever it is, okay? And people go, well, they're representing the ferrofluid, okay? Graphene oxide and ferrofluid combine to make nanoparticles. That is what you see. And the Matrix said it best, right? Turning you into a battery, which is what they're doing. They even talk about that with 6G, how 6G is going to be powered by human beings, by their flesh. All this stuff is in front of you, getting underneath your skin, talking about the future of humanity, talking about the future with 6G, how cell phones will be obsolete and they'll be embedded inside of your body. All of these movies that have constantly showed you the black goo and the transformation from Billie Eilish, the demon, who was crying out black goo, to movies like Lucy, to Stranger Things, the entire theme of it, of Stranger Things that most people just overlook when it comes to the tentacles and the upside down, right? With the black goo and the demonic possession, or even movies like Venom, all of this stuff, Eminem, with the black goo going inside of his body. You'll see all these clips here, which should make you go, oh, okay, there's probably something to this, because this isn't very normal. This isn't normal when we see people like Rihanna with locusts flying around her, tattooing what we would believe is the mark of the beast on someone's forehead as this purplish black goo comes out of their body. Look at these clips again, and remember, this is all about transforming you. And that's by getting this type of stuff into your body, however they can convince you to take it, whether it's getting you to be fearful of a virus that doesn't exist, getting you fearful of having a cough that you're going to drop dead. When nobody saw people during COVID dropping dead in the grocery stores or laying in the streets like you saw in movies, you didn't see anything. You just heard and heard and heard, oh, hospitals are filled, and people go see, no, hospitals are not filled. But the mass hysteria was created, and it spread and spread and spread, and they got people to begin the transformation process by getting this nanotechnology inside of their bodies. Again, that's why you saw a lot of people connected to Bluetooth, etc., during that time period. And then they deleted channels like mine and everybody else out there who was exposing the Internet of Bodies and what they were really doing, right? Well, the pivot since then, knowing that people have caught on to what the government's doing, not in the sense of the Internet of Bodies, but more so thinking of in terms of mass genocide, and not wanting to do that, well, they've just pivoted and said, well, here's just a company that you could lose fat because we know you're all so narcissistic because we've made you that way. You could look skinnier because you're too lazy to go to the gym or eat healthy. You want to eat all our poison food. So just pop this into your body and you could still eat McDonald's and you could still eat human burgers and you'll lose weight anyway. And people just turn a blind eye and don't go, wait a minute. Well, if we know that the government and Big Pharma are one and the same, and we know that they just all of a sudden stopped talking about COVID, why wouldn't they use Ozempic or these other means to get mRNA inside you? Because the mission was never going to end. And again, it's all about the transformation, getting nanotech inside of you. Look at these clips and keep in mind exactly what's going on with everything I mentioned with Osiris, the logo of a piece on the box for the Ozempic, and the transformation that is here and happening in front of us.
What is the Matrix? Control. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world, built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
I work in the team of Case Decker, and I work on designing graphene nanopores to sequence DNA at a single molecule level. So the idea of DNA sequencing is to read the content of your genome. And what you want is a recorder that can read the sequence of your DNA, but for that you need a recorder that is not bigger than the size of a single base. So we are using graphene because graphene is only 1 atom thin. So we are really doing high technology with very simple methods. So we take a piece of graphite here, we put the graphite onto the Scotch tape, we exfoliate once, we take a silicon wafer here, in which that we bring into contact with the graphene, we press hard, we end up with a piece of wafer that somewhere has a graphene layer. And then we'll bring that chip to a transmission electron microscope to burn a nanopore into it. So then we take this chip, we flow on both sides a buffer, and on one side we inject the DNA molecule, and that's what we can record. There are still a few challenges to overcome, but all the technology I mentioned is in the size of this little chip here that could be used by a physician in his office to sequence the DNA of one of his patients in only a few minutes rather than a few days.
So you actually do.
We think of copper as being a very electrically conductive material, but graphene conducts electricity even better than copper. The reason that graphene conducts electricity so well is that the electrons can move fantastically fast. This gives graphene limitless applications, including conductive paints and inks, faster next-generation electronics, high-frequency devices, and more efficient batteries.
We were working on experiments that we hadn't even thought of 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. Graphene throws up all sorts of new challenges for completely new types of science to do. It's hard to think of another type of material in which you would have those sort of challenges thrown up on a weekly, almost daily basis. That's what's really exciting about graphene. Graphene was first isolated and many of its properties were first identified by scientists working in the physics department at Manchester from 2004 onwards. What's happened over the last decade is that there's been a big expansion of graphene work into my own department, which is chemistry, into material science, into the life sciences, and into engineering. Really, I think the advantage we have in Manchester is that we have a lot of fundamental expertise from the physics department in graphene, but we've got a kind of seamless transition of graphene from its very fundamental properties to the applications which are being explored. It might even be effectively sewed into somebody's skin. You can imagine that's science fiction. Because we're relying more and more on renewable energy, from wind, from the tide, from the sun, then we need ways of storing that energy. And how do you store that energy? Well, essentially, giant banks of batteries and supercapacitors are feasible ways of storing that energy, but we need to improve the technology, and graphene can really make a difference there. Effectively sewed into somebody's skin. You can imagine that's science fiction, but I can't see why that wouldn't happen in the future.
A hexagonal lattice of carbon atoms called graphene. It's single atom thick, but stronger than steel. It conducts electricity and heat efficiently and has been slowly realizing its potential as a game changer. Kostya Novoselov, who won the Nobel Prize for his work on graphene, says one great application is in communications, because graphene is completely transparent and can transmit information via optical circuits incredibly quickly and efficiently.
It just allows you to push the signal processing into the optical domains, and honestly I don't think any other material apart from graphene can do the same, can change its optical state at the same pace. So I think that's probably one of the most exciting and at the same time realistic applications.
Lightweight graphene can be easily incorporated into everything from shoes to clothing to cars, and that will make them strong, flexible, and smart. And its ability to move information quickly is going to be part of what makes the super-fast 5G networks that are coming soon possible.
We started to see it first in composite material applications, in sport goods. Now it goes into advanced cars, but now we already start to see it being used for electronics, for printed electronics, and I think it just develops with a very good pace for a new material.
Graphene is also making more efficient solar panels possible, and it's making smart electronics smarter and faster. But graphene might even soon be making people better.
I think we will see more interesting applications, like applications in biotechnology, maybe in membrane technology. So those are quite exciting, but they need a little bit more time to mature.
Novoselov says graphene circuits are so sensitive, an atom-thin probe can read and map brain activity and send that information to doctors or a phone in case of medical emergency.
This transparent strip is made of one of the strongest materials on Earth. And now, we're going to inject this into your body. Could it make your cells regenerate faster? Would this mineral ever leave your system? This is What If, and here's what would happen. Humans have been using graphite to draw since the Stone Age, and now we mine it to keep our batteries charged and machines lubed. But graphene, well, that's something new. This material, first seen in 2004, is only 1 atom thick. Found after peeling off transparent tape from graphite, the mineral stuck to the tape was named graphene. And it might be the first two-dimensional substance ever discovered. But don't be fooled by its size. Graphene is 100 times stronger than steel and powerful enough to repel most gases and liquids. Discovering it has revolutionized battery and information technology, but if graphene atoms enter your bloodstream, what would happen to your cells? You can create graphene oxide by oxidizing graphite. And this nanoparticle, graphene oxide, can be used in medical treatments since it breaks down in water fast. Drugs injected into your system could be delivered to their destinations faster thanks to this cheap and readily available substance. Studies in lab rats have shown that graphene caused tumors to shrink. Other tests showed that graphene might even make your bones regenerate quicker. But all this comes at a cost. We'll come back to that. If that much graphene oxide entered your bloodstream, the consequences might be dire. Remember, our knowledge of graphene is limited. So, what do we know? Well, studies in mice show that graphene can build up inside the lungs. Graphene sheets only nanometers thick would grow and collect, causing fluids to build up inside your lungs. You could drown on the inside without even touching a drop of water. But what would graphene do to your brain? Well, if you were injected with graphene, a small amount could cross the dreaded blood-brain barrier. This roadblock in your nervous system stops bacteria and viruses from getting into your brain. Now, if graphene enters your brain, most of the mineral would dissolve over the next 2 days, but you're not in the clear yet. The jagged graphene nanoparticles could pierce your blood cells and completely disrupt their function. And if it damages your kidney cells, proteins could leak into your urine. This would make your eyes and ankles swell. This condition, known as nephrotic syndrome, would also kill your appetite. Well, you might have lost that already. While graphene has quickly revolutionized the tech and medical industries, we still don't know what this mineral can do to us in the long run. Is it a miracle of nature, or is it a killer in disguise?
We chase them.
Send word to Katie Prime to begin selling our spice reserves. You have no idea how much it cost me to bring such a force to bear here. No, I only have one requirement. Kill them all.
Let's put some ferrofluid on the plate. Ferrofluid is made of nanoparticles of iron, and when you apply a magnetic field to them, they follow the magnetic field lines in this spiky pattern here. The stronger the magnetic field is, the closer together the spikes form. So first let me show you what happens when I move a regular magnet near the ferrofluid. You can see it just sucks it up to the magnet. Okay, now let's bring the superconductor up to it. Okay, watch it push the spikes out of the way as I bring it close. That's because it's opposing the magnetic field at first. Now if I were able to get it closer, then it would lock in place and it wouldn't push the spikes out of the way. But if I push it any closer, it's going to go into the ferrofluid. Another cool thing I observed is that when you bring it near the ferrofluid, the spikes actually start to flow towards it. Now this seemed odd to me because there wasn't a reason magnetically why it should do that. So I tested it with just plastic that was cold, not a superconductor, and it did the same thing.
Bring it over to the point of the bolt and just gently drop it on there.
Okay.
In fact, you don't even have to like touch it. It'll get pulled right over because of the magnetic field.
Wow, look at it building up. Whoa! That is so cool. It's turning, I don't even know how to describe it. It almost looks like if I touched it, it'd be spiky.
Watch this. Okay, the magnet is actually drawing those particles. Keep loading it up. We're going to see how much fluid we can get on here. If you notice, you look really close, you can see they're like little spikes.
Yeah, that's what it almost looks like. If I were to touch it, it would be spiky. Clearly, I know that's not the case.
It's actually soft. It's still a liquid, but because of the magnetic field, it's actually taking on a different shape. Those little particles are actually little magnets, but they've been coated with a surfactant so they won't stick to themselves. But in the presence of a very strong magnet, they'll begin to take on these interesting shapes.
Oh, look, it's starting to get spiky even on the threading of the bolt.
Yeah.
That is super neat.
So it's fighting against gravity. The gravity's pulling it down. The magnet's pulling it down. Surface tension is trying to create these interesting shapes.
Sure.
But so it looks cool, right?
Yeah,
it's
looks
really
very
interesting,
cool.
Very cool. What would you use it for? Is the real question. And so if you have a hard drive with a spinning axis that you want to seal, you can use ferrofluid. You put two magnets around the axle, and the ferrofluid will form a seal around the axle. Or if you want to separate things that are non-magnetic, this is a copper penny.
Sure, but we know that it's only partially, not fully copper, right?
You're right.
Okay.
It's zinc inside and a little copper on the outside, but in either case, it's not magnetic. Okay,
right.
It won't
Yeah, we
stick
know
to
that.
anything.
It's not going to stick to the fridge or anything like
How
that.
would I separate that out? We can use ferrofluid. So watch this. Load up my little cup with some ferrofluid. Just use the whole container. Just
Oh, like
you
that,
can
just
pour
dump it in?
Yeah, just dump it in. It's okay. And if we,
That good?
yeah, that's perfect. If we take the magnet and drop it inside, no great surprise, it's simply going to sink to the bottom.
Sure.
Now, here's where things might get a little bit messy. Watch out.
Woo!
Okay, if I take this super strong magnet and pull it away and put it underneath,
Whoa!
the penny will float to the top.
Yeah, immediately.
Immediately. And if I take it away from the magnet, the penny sinks.
Wow.
If I bring it down to the ferrofluid,
And
penny
so
floats
that's
to the
just the
top.
force?
The ferrofluid is actually, and I can have you feel it. I'm going to put this magnet back under the plate, and I want you to reach in with your gloves and touch that clump of ferrofluid. What does it feel like? Describe
Oh,
that.
gel. It feels like a hard, gooey gel, and I can't grab it off here even though I want to.
The density of the material has changed in the presence of a magnetic field. And this is one way that recyclers can actually separate non-magnetic or non-ferrous metals from magnetic metals.
That is so neat. And yeah, you can't, I'm trying to even separate it and it won't work.
It feels like Jell-O.
Yep.
It's really weird. But if we do take the magnet away, I'll try not to splash, it goes right back to a liquid.
Wow, that is really neat. So then this almost, in theory, can be reused as well. The actual...
It can, yes, absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
There's even some talk of using this sort of nanotechnology to target drugs. So if we attach a specific drug to the nanoparticles here, we could put it in an entire body and it would all be dilute. But if we target an organ with a strong magnetic field, we can actually cause all of the drugs to go to that one
Wow,
location.
so in theory, if you needed maybe a heart medicine that you didn't want going elsewhere,
In theory, yes.
there could be a magnet used so that we could...
You could target that stuff using the tiny nanoparticles,
Wow.
and then take the field away. It disperses throughout the body, and you're fine.
Can't commit to anything but a crime. Leaders on vacation and invite them. Hills burn in California. Quiet when I'm coming home and I'm on my own. Let me let you go.
I'm afraid you won't survive.
Some cells inside me will fight and defend their integrity till the very end.
Look, the computer. It's moving.
What the hell are you?
I am Venom. You did not find us. We found you. Think of yourself as my bride.
You gonna eat anybody else?
Most likely is why we are here. Cooperate, and you might just survive.
And don't make me have to give it back to academics. You had it when you thought you had me slipping at the telly. Even when he ain't spitting like this on his last shit. Oh, you better go back and live. Revenge is the best medicine. Increase the dose from least to most and then tell the great. What? Piss and moan, but I'm not gonna fall.
So it's incredible, really, when you look at all this stuff. and how they've revealed these things, and you're supposed to believe these are music videos, and they're just celebrities who are being kooky and weird, and they're tattooing Braille on someone's forehead, 666, and you know even the locusts in the Rihanna video, to Stranger Things, to Lucy, all of it showing you about the internet of bodies, right? Wouldn't you say, hey, how come Lucy has the thing from Stranger Things in it? Nobody thinks that, right? They don't go see Lucy and then say one is copying the other, right? Is Lucy turning into Venom from the movie Venom from the Spider-Man? It's all the same exact thing, right? Transforming with this black goo. And you saw the clips in there of the ferro fluid, right? The magnetism of human beings, what they're doing by getting nanotech inside of human beings, transforming what it is to be a human being, of course, all through gene editing. So we can look at all these ghouls, right? Charlize Theron, the latest one, and nobody goes, all they say when they see it is they go, why did Charlize Theron do that to herself, right? That's the sheeple, who most don't even believe that these celebrities are inverted, right? They're like, oh, Charlize Theron, so beautiful. They don't even know. I mean, I don't know if any of you have seen some of the videos out there, like it's becoming a thing where girls who are really guys are like filming themselves making out with straight men at clubs because they can't tell while they're out drinking that the person's actually a man transition, right? Because they're all done up in makeup. They look like a Barbie doll. So they can't tell with the amount of plastic surgery and work that's done. And they post this stuff online. I mean, it's sickening. It's a frightening reality that we're living in. Okay? It's a frightening reality. So people see this stuff and then it's like, oh, I can't believe Charlie's there. But no, they wouldn't even believe that these celebrities are actually inversions, that they're actually men pretending to be women and women pretending to be men. But you look at them and then they go, oh, why is Charlie's doing this? Just she doesn't need to lose more weight, right? Well, these celebrities, one, they do as they're told. Two, it is highly likely that these are actually stunt doubles or whatever. Who even knows at this point? They could be using Tesla bots covered in flesh suits with masks. I mean, the tech is that advanced, as crazy as it sounds. But the point of it isn't, is that really Charlize Theron? Why is Charlize Theron doing it? The point is that they're doing this to influence people and normalize it. Now, you might look at it and say, well, who would want to look that ghoulish and thin? But think about all the young people out there who are easily manipulated, who look at themselves in such a negative light, right? I'm old. So a lot of you who listen are older. There might be some teens out there. The teens out there are living in this reality of this Instagram world where you got to look a certain way and it's never enough to be not thin enough, not pretty enough. You know, you could be naturally beautiful and then you don't believe you're beautiful and you go and do all this damage to yourself because they're influenced by these social engineers, which is what Hollywood is. It's a mind control experiment. And that's why they call it the Great American Experiment. Because our country, my former country, but America, the country, is a massive mind control operation, a massive mind control experiment, okay? And that's what these celebrities' jobs are, to persuade you without telling you to do these things to yourself. So we can look at it and say, well, it looks like a Nephilim. I mean, who's going to go and do that? But people out there who look in the mirror and see fat on their body go, well, I'm not pretty enough. I don't feel good enough. And it does work on them, even though we see it a different way. But we also see the signs and symbols. We're also awake and aware of what's going on. Most of these people don't realize that the government, you know, all this technology is government technology through DARPA that's being sold you from Tesla and Amazon and Apple, et cetera, that you would never have in your life if the government came to your door 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and told you to put cameras on your front door, call it a Ring, to put a TV in your home that had a camera on it. But they convinced you, well, it's not us. It's just really cool technology that's really convenient for you. And so everyone gets smartphones, then they get smart refrigerators, then they get smart meters, and they don't realize that they're giving up the freedom of having even a normal refrigerator. You're giving it up because eventually, when the government passes climate laws, they're going to be turning these devices off and telling you have to ration electricity, right? That's why you hear all this noise about the grid and not enough electricity and the data centers, because you're not going to be using electricity. You're going to be rationing it. So they have control over all your devices, all this stuff. I'm getting to a point here. What I'm trying to say is that when we look even at these celebrities, the government is using them to persuade you to put the things in your body that they want in your body, underneath your skin, as Yuval Harari had said so many times, and Klaus Schwab over the years, and all the videos that I've done about this transformation. Ozempic is being used as another tool to do that, another tool of gene editing. And these people that look like Nephilim, believe it or not, there's people out there that think that it's a beautiful look because they see it over and over. They're told it's beautiful. They're told not to judge. They're told it's great. Just like we see with Botox. Any normal person would be like, why are these women, do they know they look like aliens? Do these like 50-year-old women who still look pretty at 50, and then they go and get Botox because they're told it'll make them look 20. Do they realize they look like aliens? That their faces don't move? They look like freaks? In their own warped mind, they don't realize what's going on because they're told, oh, and I could look 20 again and guys will want me. I'm 15, I look like I'm 20, maybe younger guys. It's a psychosis. It's a mass psychosis. That's what the American experiment is. And now they're using Ozempic as another way to get under your skin. And they show you this stuff again through signs and logos, Novo Nordisk. The logo's right on there. I mean, one could just look at that and say it's Baal, for crying out loud, right? A bull with the thing over its head, right? But they tell you the Novo Nordisk logo is Apis. And Apis is, again, it is the representation of the incarnation of Osiris, the god of death and the underworld on earth. And this is what we see through Aleister Crowley's teachings and all of these celebrities who worship Aleister Crowley's teachings, who worship Lucifer, who follow these demonic black magic rituals to do invocations of spirits and deities. These deities are all a part of their, what they worship, who they bring forth in their ceremonies and black magic rituals, right? It's not, they're not just doing these rituals because they're massive pedos. Yeah, I'm sure they love it. And it's not just for adrenochrome. It's the things that they summon, the spirits that they summon, the energy that they summon when they partake in these rituals, right? And what they bring forth. And now they're responsible for this mass transformation that's occurring because they're deceiving people into literally transforming themselves via this mass transformation by editing who they actually are, their individual, God-given individuality, their God-given unique DNA code being altered, genetically modified right in front of our faces. And most people out there don't have a clue as to what they're actually doing. The oneness of it all, folks. One race, one gender, oneness. That is the key number in all of it, right? The New World Order is a one world government, all under the all-seeing eye of Lucifer. And humanity as one, the collective consciousness through the internet bodies, things that guys like Elon Musk openly talk about on a daily basis, right in front of the eyes of Christians who don't have a clue about what's actually going on because they refuse to wake up to what's actually going on. They'd rather live in Pleasantville thinking that everything is great, everything is wonderful. It's too much for them to actually deal with and process. And again, that's why I talk about most of these adults you see behaving as children. It's become normal in 2025 for adults to go to Comic-Con, for adults to start playing with their toys again like they're 12. And everyone's like, that's normal, it's cool. What's wrong with that? It's cool to act like a kid still, right? Because people, if you study psychology, those are all signs of regression for human beings. Adults who start acting like kids, it's a sign of regression. It means that you've been confronted with things, conflict, or something that's so overwhelming that you're regressing. Instead of facing it, you're going back and reverting to childhood and doing childhood-like things. And it's being celebrated in our society because, of course, through government psychosis, through stuff they promote on YouTube, through celebrities, they're telling you, oh, it's fine for a 40-year-old dad to take the weekend off. He doesn't need to, take a weekend away from your kids and go be a kid again yourself. Go to Disney World at 40 and 50 without your kids and enjoy the rides and go on the teacups. And these guys are doing it. Go buy Ninja Turtle toys like you played with when you were a kid and don't realize why pizza was the thing that the turtles needed for energy and pizza and adrenochrome, right? Don't realize any of this stuff. Just go back and revert. Because these people don't want to realize what's actually going on and how sick and diabolical these people are. I always use the comparison to what we've been told are psychopaths, right? We've been told about Bundy, Dahmer. I've talked in the past about connections to all these guys in the CIA, that they were really mind control experiments that they put out on the public to create this image in your mind of serial killers. Of course, it created mass hysteria with serial killers existing when the government's really the mass serial killer. Now, just imagine what you perceive as serial killers. All these guys lined up. Dahmer, Kaczynski, who I've gone into detail about. If you read Ted Kaczynski's manifesto on technology, you go, whoa, this guy is way smarter than I actually thought. And then you actually realize that, well, he went through MK Ultra operations by the CIA. And how convenient he was the universe. Oh, he wasn't a government assassin trying to kill individuals. I mean, it's incredible, but the rant that I'm making here is you look at all those guys, right? Imagine your government being run by Dahmer, what you perceive as Dahmer, Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, you name them, right? The guys in control now, the guys behind the curtain, are sicker than any psychopath you've ever seen on a true crime or in a movie, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger. They're sicker than that. They are so sick, demonic, and psychotic. And again, we know, right, through a lot of different reasons. I mean, you could believe what you want to believe, that these people aren't even human who are in control of all of this, that they're the direct descendants of the Nephilim themselves, of the fallen ones. And of course, the revelation that's coming eventually with aliens, right, being normalized. And really the reveal will be demonic possession and demonic entities being brought forward. But your government is more psychotic than you could possibly imagine. And the things that they want to do and are doing, they're doing it all through mind control and deception. They know that you would willingly not put this stuff into your body, right? But we hear stories about, oh, these people are drug addicts, these people are alcoholics, they do this and that. Think about the people out there who don't do any of that stuff, who don't do crack, right? And they view themselves as normal, regular people. They'll pass judgment on someone who has a drug addiction, but they'll take Ozempic. They'll go get their COVID boosters, right? And they're actually putting in more harmful things in their bodies probably than these other people are. I mean, I've never done crack, I've never done those things, but I would have to believe that what these people are willingly doing to themselves, they would never, ever do if they actually knew what they were taking. But they get a nice little commercial. They're told that it's FDA approved. Donald Trump tells you it's great for you. And then you start thinking about it and you just go, well, I want to look thinner. And suddenly everyone forgets about, wait a minute, they were just trying to get you to get the COVID vax. You said no, you said it's poison, but you'll go get the Ozempic shot, right? Oh, wow. They couldn't have pivoted, could they have? Of course they did. They pivoted, and they're going to continue to do other things like cancer cures, etc., to get underneath your skin by telling you to get these shots to prevent cancer, get the shot, you could, live longer, whatever they have to do to convince you to get under your skin. And you might say, well, they're not smart enough to fool us. Well, as long as you're wise as serpents and as innocent as doves, you'll survive in this. But if you're not as wise as they are, then you're likely just going to fall into that sheeple category where you're going to think you know what's going on. You're going to think you're going against what the government's trying to do to you by not taking a COVID vaccine, but then you're going to put other things inside of your body because you think that they aren't responsible for something like Ozempic when the government's already admitted to being in bed with Ozempic. Like I talked about months ago, or maybe it was last year, with Donald Trump trying to, get this stuff for free for Americans and nobody's suspicious, right? Give me another break. So we're seeing these ghouls normalized. The Hollywood celebrities are doing as they're told, whether they're doubles or not. I mean, you got to think about it. You don't think that they have the wherewithal, the common sense, even with the COVID vaccine, be like, I'm not going to do commercials for COVID. I see the pushback. I don't want my career to be over. I don't want people to boycott my movies. No, they went out and did that. They go out and they get their kids transgendered, knowing that a lot of people will not want to see their movies anymore. They won't be worshipped anymore because they're government assets. And just like this, you don't think that Charlize Theron or any of these celebrities know that they look like demonic ghouls, whether it's really them or not? It doesn't matter because this is a government operation to get under your skin. So the transformation continues to happen, ladies and gentlemen. I thank everyone for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.